Some people play games to relax, to unwind, to experience the joy, the beauty, the majesty of these great worlds devs have worked so hard to give to us. And other people just hate themselves apparently, which is what we're gonna do today by ranking some of the hardest games on this here handy dandy tier list. What are the tiers, I hear you ask? Thank you, Void, for asking such important questions. I'm gonna answer it right now. Number 1, a paper cut. It hurts, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but you can get over it. Stubbed toe, a little more painful, but walk it off, Sunny Jim. Stepping on a single bindi. This is a uniquely Australian thing, and I'm so sorry, you know exactly the pain I'm describing. Stepping on a nondescript building block. For legal reasons, we can't say the actual thing, but you know exactly what I mean and what that kind of pain entails. And the top one, a slightly deeper paper cut. I need not explain, you know what I mean. Ouchie wah, why did you make this game? Kicking us off, we have Cuphead. Oh no, I can already feel the flashbacks coming in. This was a 2017 game from Studio MDHR and was a run and gun style shooter platformer, I guess you could call it. And how it worked was you play as these two brothers, Cuphead and Mugman, to repossess a bunch of souls to pay back the devil. Because of course. So it only feels fair to put Cuphead at stepping on nondescript building blocks. We're not quite at the peak yet, but oh golly blimey, we're sure getting there. Next up, we have Flappy Bird, the 2013 game that had myself and my entire class in a vice grip. Though it did come out in 2013, it didn't gain mass popularity really till about 2014. And then when it did, it had us by the throats. How it worked was you play as the Flappy Bird and you have to get through a bunch of these like pipe openings. Through each one you get a point. But it progressively got more difficult to navigate and eventually became near impossible. If you got over like 50 points, you were considered pretty good. I got 51, so just call me a genius. This is one of those games where there's no like checkpoint system, so if you die, that's it, you're out. But it became like an ongoing competitive game with all my friends to see who could get the most points that week. It actually got so popular that allegedly the dev took it down from app stores because it was gaining him so much money, it started to cause actual family dramas in his real life. And then once it was taken down, phones that still had the game were worth so much money, people were trying to flog them off on eBay for insane prices. There was later like an arcade game, a bunch of clones, but the OG game is still highly sought after, despite the blood vessels it popped in my eyeballs. This is obviously a very unserious ranking ceremony. I would put this one step below Cuphead because it didn't make me like violently angry. It just really ticked me off because I wanted to be the very best. So I'm gonna pop that one on stepping on a single bindi. Annoying, inconvenient, ouchie wah, but I moved on. Another 2013 game, Geometry Dash, has a unique place in my soul for a game that I'm super hyped about and will always take the opportunity to play. But no, deep down, it is the start of yet another cycle of not being able to stop playing Geometry Dash. How it works is in the base game, you are a little block and you've got to bounce around to the beat of the music while overcoming obstacles. Eventually, it gets a lot harder. The timing is really important. Going with the rhythm of the music, but also paying attention is a massive part of what makes this game so fun. But another level to that is there are player-generated levels you can do, which of course are insanely hard because people are crazy, in the best way I might add. I've spent so many hours of my life trying to perfect these levels, especially because in the base game, there are no checkpoints. So once you're out, that's it. You get given a percentage of how well you did, and then it's yours to beat later on. I used to think I was pretty good at Geometry Dash because I practice a bunch, I love rhythm games, and I'm semi-decent at platformers, especially timed ones. But then I played with my slightly younger cousins, and let me tell you, I have never been so humbled in my entire life. Purely for the reason that it keeps me coming back for more, I'm gonna chuck Geometry Dash in, stepping on nondescript building blocks. A familiar pain, but one I keep coming back to. The true test of a game like getting over it isn't completing the game. It's getting through talking about completing the game without flipping a chair. So getting over it was one of those rage games specifically. It was in 2017 and came out as part of like a Humble Bundle monthly edition. And oh boy, never has a game humbled me so severely. This was developed by a man named Bennett Foddy, who I would just like to have some words with. Bennett, if you're around, give me a call. I just want to chat. The whole premise of this game is you are a dude in a cauldron with a sledgehammer who might be naked. I don't know, not my business. But your job is to get to point A to point B while navigating a bunch of obstacles. How do you do that, you might ask? Stop asking questions, I'm trying to explain. Use your sledgehammer and your mouse control to like push and pull your way around these obstacle courses. And it is so tricky, and it really relies on your ability to correct mistakes very quickly, dexterity, pinpoint accuracy, and above all, patience to not throw your bloody mouse out a window. I'm so normal about this game for so many reasons. If you do manage to get through this, all while having the narrator yapping in your ear about how patience is a virtue, you get given a golden cauldron, basically to show off that you made it through. Is your study in one piece? They don't ask those kind of questions, just that you made it. I don't think a game has ever gotten to me as aggressively as Getting Over It did, so it only makes sense that this should go into a slightly deeper paper cut. Welcome to the tier list. Ghosts and Goblins is a game I actually only played yesterday, and hopefully will never have to play again. It's a 1985 Capcom game, kind of like a non-linear Super Mario Brothers. You play as a dude who I assume has a name, I don't know, I didn't ask. And then another dude who I assume also has a name, don't know, didn't ask, kidnaps my wife. And you have to go through all these levels while like beating a bunch of ghouls and zombies and I guess goblins eventually. But the catch is, one, the controls suck. And look, I know, I hear you. This is a 1985 game. I'm sure at the time it was very revolutionary. I don't care, I'm playing it in 2024, and in 2024, it sucks. I didn't even get through the first level because you've got to like pivot while all these zombies are coming at you, and your weapons are so slow to draw, and for some reason the zombies are on like super sprinter speed. It is so difficult, and if you die twice, that's it, you're out, back to the beginning again. Have fun getting to where you were. There is no checkpoint system, I don't think, I don't know, I never got that far. When I was playing it, I did ask one of our producers, hey, was this an arcade game? Because it definitely feels like something I have to pay to suffer through. And he said, yes, in fact it was released in just about every console under the sun, because I guess the developers just wanted to share the joy with all involved, to torture us the way they were tortured while developing it. Now, because I didn't get that far through it, I can't really say if it gets any better or any worse, so I'm gonna chuck Ghosts and Goblins in one of the lower tiers of the stub toe, because as hard as it is to keep playing, it's very easy to put down. The Lion King game. Oh boy, oh howdy, oh my, what a treat for the eyes, the thumbs, and most importantly, the soul. This was developed by Westwood Studios and published by Virgin Interactive Entertainment. And you know how I know that? Because I had to watch the opening screen a billion times, because there's no save points in this game, or checkpoints. When you die, you go back to the very beginning. Guess how many levels I made it through? I'll give you a hint, more than one, less than 3. This is a side-scrolling platformer. You play as Simba going through a bunch of the scenes we see in the Lion King movie, but getting progressively more angry as you go. The controls are a little on the wonky side, I will say, for a game of that time period, very pretty. The audio is quite nice, but if I hear Simba's catchphrase one more time, I'm gonna scream in real life. I've also just found out that apparently this was specifically made harder so that when you rented the game out, because that's how we used to do things back in the day, you couldn't finish the game within the 2-week rental time period you were given, so you'd have to do it again. And if that's not Disney... Anyway, this game was very quickly recognized to be quite the challenger, but not necessarily in a fulfilling way, more in a pulling your hair out kind of way, due to its dodgy imports and even dodgier hitboxes. And Jacob, who's behind the camera, had to watch me go through this for about half an hour. So you're welcome, and I'll take my apologies in cash. Thank you so much. Is it quite Geometry Dash and Cuphead levels? Hard to say, mostly because it's not as fun as either of those games. So I'm gonna chuck it in, stepping on a single bindi. The theme of today's episode is very clearly humbling gems specifically, and I have never been so aggressively humbled by a game I thought I'd be good at than I was by the Aussie-made game Aussie. Now this is a rhythm game, which I love. I'm great at rhythm games. Until I'm not, apparently. How this one works is you use the mouse and keyboard, although the pros, as I've been told, use trackpads. Oh my gosh, you're so fancy. I'm not like you. I don't know what to tell you. To hit a bunch of buttons as they appear with the beat of the music. Sounds simple, right? No, it's not actually, as I found out firsthand very quickly. I was sitting in that office after just telling Jacob how great I'd be at this. I didn't need his help. I didn't need his tutorials. 2 seconds. It took 2 seconds to realize how out of my depth I was. And this was on a very basic level. They come in like from 1 to 10 stars of difficulty. I think I was on 2 and I struggled significantly. Imagine how I would go on the level 10-star ones the community makes, because you're all, frankly, nuts in the best way possible. I need y'all to tone it down like 8 degrees, because not all of us have a bunch of tentacles sprouting out of our backs. Some of us are little babies who thought we had better hand-eye coordination than we actually do. It is so hard to convey how difficult this this game is just through footage alone. You have to see the full picture of me screaming my head off to quite understand what I'm going through. But how it works is if you were to finish a 5-star level, even on like a moderate score, moderate to average, you would still be in like the 300,000th position globally. That's how hard this is. So imagine level 10. I can't because I'd get 1 second in and be done. All that being said, I am determined to get better at Osu. I need to. They've got so many cool songs and I want to be good at this game because that was embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. Ranking this purely on my experience and my newfound devotion to not only master this game, but become the very best there ever was, I'm gonna put Osu at a slightly deeper paper cut. Quap! Okay, all right, hear me out. If that seemed like an over-the-top reaction to what is a very simple browser game, you'd be right, it is. But you don't understand my story. You don't know the history I have with this little package of nightmares. Let me tell you about it now. Oh my no. I am just now finding out that Quap and Getting Over It are made by the same person. Bennett Foddy, I am coming for you! I wasn't aware of that. This isn't a bit, Jacob. I wasn't aware of that. I put those in two very separate categories of my brain that electrified me in a way that I dare not articulate in the human tongue. To find out this is the same person?
I'm sorry, not sorry.
So upset. We've all heard of Quap by now, surely, but if you haven't, here's how it works. You have 4 keys that determine which part of your body you're moving, and you've got to try and make them all work together to get yourself from point A to point B. Saying it all out loud, of course it was made by Bennett Foddy. This is a notoriously difficult game to beat because it requires, again, pinpoint accuracy, patience, and the ability to correct mistakes on the fly. How did I not see this earlier? Of course it was made by Bennett! If you think you have hand-eye coordination, no you don't. And Quap will tell you that in excruciating detail as you stumble again over and over, like Sisyphus pushing up a bloody boulder, but it's just you trying to run 100 meters. It's really fun, you should all give it a shot. You might think I'm over-dramatizing this, but I promise you, the many months I spent with my friends trying to master this game have left me with scars that will never fade. I have mixed feelings about calling this a good game or not, because frankly, I'm not left with any of the fuzzy feelings I generally associate with playing a good game. But yet, here I am, just as riled up as I was when it first came out. So you know what, Quap? No, you do deserve this. Up to the top you go in slightly deeper paper cut territory. When I'm talking about a good game, I'm talking about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. So good, so much fun, never got around to finishing it because guess what? It is a From Software game, which means I knew exactly what I was getting into, but still tried to run my head into that same wall over and over again, expecting a different result. In the same vein as games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls, Sekiro is quite a challenging game with a focus on its incredibly gorgeous, but difficult boss fights, which I love. To a degree. It really teaches me patience, it teaches me focus, it teaches me to assess my surroundings and pinpoint patterns. I love that, I do. But there's only so many times I can run into that brick wall before I start to feel my teeth grinding in my skull. But unlike those games, you can't build your character to fit your skill set. You get what you're given and you'll bloody well like it or you'll die trying. Which is super fun, but has caused a lot of rage quit moments for myself and most of the player base. But I also kind of love it because it's a really pretty game, it's so beautiful. I really wish I'd gotten to finish it, but I don't know if I can go back to that well. I wouldn't say Sekiro carries that like rage bait sort of anger that games like Getting Over It or Quap have, but it is definitely a challenging game, but it makes you want to get better at it because it is so fun to play. So I'm gonna chuck that one in. I'm gonna say stepping on a nondescript building block. It's hard, it hurts, but you wanna get better at it, and that means something. Now, the 2019 Super Mario Maker 2 is on this list, and at first I wasn't quite sure why. The campaign itself is pretty simple, there's a bit of challenge there, but nothing too egregious. The levels I made were rudimentary at best, but hey, they were there. But I forgot that if I can make levels, everyone else can too. And some of y'all need to tone it down. I don't know what possessed you to make such atrocities, but I would like to have a very simple and very quiet word. The custom levels can contain assets from a bunch of different Mario games, which in theory sounds great. Creativity, options, I love it. But then you lot got a hold of them and started making things like 15 bullet bills charging at me with aggressive force. I don't know if you want me to actually beat your stuff or just suffer through it. Either way, ooh, good work. Good work. No, I tip my hat to you. You're nuts. This one is so hard because there is such a variety of the levels, and most of them are very well designed. Some are tough and bad, but most are just tough. So I'm gonna pop Super Mario Maker 2 with the caveat that it can get a lot worse. I'm gonna pop it in stepping on a single bindi. It's the middle tier game. It can be easy or it can be your worst nightmare. Gosh, okay. There was a period of time in year 2010 and going forward into like 2013 where you could not escape the game Super Meat Boy. It was everywhere. Every big YouTuber was playing it. Every kid in school was aggressively banging their head into the wall trying to beat it. And for good reason. It was not only challenging, but it was super duper fun. This was made by Team Meat. If that name doesn't strike fear into your heart and also a little bit of confusion, I don't know what's wrong with you. But here's some other names involved in this project. You play as Meat Boy. You are looking for Bandage Girl, and you're trying to stop Dr. Fetus. If that doesn't set the bar for expectations, I don't know what will. But what followed was one of the most aggravating games I've ever had the pleasure of playing, but also one of the most satisfying platformers I've had the pleasure of playing. How it worked was you have to navigate these like increasingly difficult platform areas full of obstacles. And each time you fail, it gets recorded and thrown back in your face at the end of the level should you beat it. Because who doesn't love seeing their failures laid out in front of them like a buffet? I think one of the biggest draw cards to a game like this was, one, it was very funny to watch your friends lose their mind progressively as they played. And two, the levels are quite snappy and repetitive, which means it's easy to form those like habits, 1, 2, 3, jump, 1, 2, 3, jump, which pushes you into wanting to go further and further to figure out the formula before eventually hitting the same wall over and over again. It was one of those games that I would sit down and play for, half an hour at a time, go and take like a 3-day vacation to rest and recuperate, and then come right back again. Repeat that process for like 3 years, and I'm still no closer to actually finishing Super Meat Boy. I need you to know, because no one else is gonna know, there has been so much stuff I've said that will never make the final cut. I've gotten so out of pocket in this recording. I wish you could know what I said, but it can never see the light of day. It only makes sense to end this tier list. We go out on a high note. Super Meat Boy is going in a slightly deeper paper cut territory. That's what I think. What about you guys? Have you played these games? Where would you put them on the pain scale? And have we missed any that you think deserve a place up on here? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to hit that notification bell to know when we put out new videos, and hit that like button, all the YouTubey stuff. You know how this works. I'll catch you all later.